Wendy Benchley, thank you so much for being here on the 40th anniversary of the airing of Jaws. We are so lucky. This timing is crazy, and we're so happy to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here, Lori. Thank you.
Well, when I told people that we were going to get you on the summit, we had a tremendous response, because a lot of the dive industry, of course, they know Peter Benchley's Jaws, but they don't know the people behind the book, and so many people were influenced by that movie. I thought it would be really fun to have you on to talk about sort of where it started, how it progressed, and how you are now with the Academy Awards of the Ocean. How did this all happen? So let's, I guess, begin at the beginning and just tell us the story.
Well, at the very beginning is Peter and I got married, and we both loved the ocean. But we were down in Washington. Peter was writing speeches for President Johnson, and Johnson didn't run for office, so we moved to Pennington, and Peter had a couple ideas for novels. One was about pirates, one was about a shark. And actually, he told me both ideas, and I said, go with the pirates, honey, it's much better. More believable. In any case, he went with the shark, and he has a great, wonderful imagination. But he also researched that book extensively with all the books he could find about shark behavior, what a shark might do. Now, when they finally did the movie, they exaggerated the size of the shark, etc. But he put every bit of knowledge that he could summon up in that book. And actually, at that moment in time, the rogue shark theory was being promoted by a lot of people, and Peter absolutely did not go along with that theory. And I've got some letters from him talking to David Brown, the producer of Jaws, saying, I don't like the way this movie is going. You're going along with the rogue shark theory, and that I do not agree with. In any case, he wrote the book. It was sold to the movies sort of at the same time of the book, and our life was changed. It was, one of those surprising blockbusters. Peter and I were just astounded that it took off so well. And actually, the book was a bestseller to begin with, even before the movie came out. So his fine writing had something to do with it.
So I read the book, and I loved it, and I was terrified by it. And actually, it was one of the things that got me into the water, because I felt much more comfortable under the water than on top. And I wonder how many other people were influenced that way, that it actually didn't turn them off diving, that it actually made them want to get their head under the water and see what was going under the waves.
Well, I'm so pleased to hear that, because I think your reaction was very much the reaction of thousands of people. I mean, Peter received literally thousands of fan letters talking about the fact that this book had intrigued people. Yes, it scared them, but it also intrigued them, and they wanted to learn more about sharks, about the ocean. It brought excitement back to the ocean again, and a new attention. So, I mean, he had letters from young men and women who said, I'm going to go study marine biology. We had lots of letters from school teachers saying, I use Jaws, the book, as the adult novel to get my children reading and to show them that the world of the novel can be a fascinating thing. And then we use it also to get them talking about the ocean. And so just hundreds and hundreds of letters through the years from young people, old people, saying that they loved it. Now, a lot of people were scared and never went back in the water, and that I guess was one of the effects. But remember, this was a novel, and it was created that way. And honestly, the people who were the bad guys were the town fathers, not the shark. It was the town fathers who, in the face of a threat and an animal that was obviously hanging around, they kept those beaches open. So I think that the people who read the nuances in the book understood that it was a novel that had many different facets to it.
So this kind of reminds me of what's happening now, in a way, with things going on in Australia and elsewhere, like in South Africa, and where the powers that be are going to extreme measures to keep sharks out, and continuing this mythology that the sharks are the problem, that there's this rogue aspect to them, that they're out to kill us all, and we need to kill them first.
Well, of course, obviously, as you know, Jaws didn't start that fear of sharks or the urge to kill sharks. I mean, that's been around for the millennium, and I mean, for years and years and years, people have killed sharks, thinking sharks were the devil, beast. So I think what's different is that only within the last 100 years have people been swimming and beginning to use the ocean as a playground. And so we are interacting with sharks in the ocean. It's their place, it's their world, it is their fascinating world, and we are inserting ourselves into it by huge numbers. So of course, the number of shark attacks are going to go up. If you put thousands and more people into the ocean swimming around, sharks are going to come up and take a taste or a bite and see if you're good to eat. And as we know, they don't really like human beings. We're too bony. We don't have enough fat on us. And they usually just take a little test bite and let go and swim away. So, but that test bite, if it happens to hit an artery or vein, it's bad. It's tragic for the human. So I think we just have to swim in balance and use our wits and not be foolish. Don't swim way out to sandbars. Don't swim in the evening and the afternoon. And realize that, every time you go out in a car, you're taking a chance you may be blindsided by a truck. So you are taking a risk when you swim, when you mountain climb, lots of pleasures in life. It's not without risk.
It's like this primordial fear that we have, and Jaws kind of worked on that we were frightened, but in a way, how it was portrayed that the shark actually was not the problem, it was us, and it was ever thus. It is, we are the problem, and so now we have shark finning going on like crazy. And sharks being pulled out of the water. I mean, I can't even remember how much it is now, how many $100 a pound it is for shark fin. Even though the demand is going down, we're still fishing out sharks, and a lot of people don't care. They go, oh, they're just sharks. So how do we? I mean, how did Peter and you get around that? What do you guys? You did some things.
Well, we did a lot of work through the last 40 years on ocean conservation issues. And Peter and I did some films, Peter did other films, and then we worked a lot with the Environmental Defense Fund on policy issues. And then we also worked with a group called Wild Aid, and they're based in California, but they mostly do work in Asia, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, because that is where most of the shark fins end up. And the good news is that Wild Aid has been using celebrities, Asian celebrities, Jackie Chan and Yao Ming and others, to educate the Chinese middle class. And it's worked. I mean, they hundreds, millions more Chinese have come into the middle class, and they are ready to be part of the world and to understand what's going on environmentally. And they have reduced their demand for shark fin soup by 50 to 70% just in the last 2 years. I mean, the campaign's been going on for 10 years, but now it's working. And we're going to try the same kind of campaign with elephant tusks and rhino horns. So, I think there is just so much happening now in the oceans where world leaders many, many countries know that we are in trouble, that we need to have marine protected areas, that uh, we need to have regulations about overfishing, and we're on the cusp of, I think, a big, good tipping point around the world with knowledge and action on the ocean.
Which brings me to something that we discussed, in that you have a background as a policy wonk, right? So you have tapped into a lot of leaders through your work, and now with the Peter Benchley Ocean Awards. And this is really exciting what I'm seeing happening with what you've been doing, along with what, working with David Helvarg, to get these policymakers together with scientists. And how did you come up with this whole idea to create a non-confrontational platform to be able to move the conversation forward?
Well, this happened because Peter and I, when we were traveling around the world doing our movies and our conservation work and articles, we met so many fascinating people of all walks of life and all different disciplines, whether they were leaders, whether they were grassroots, just a citizen doing his or her best, a scientist. And we kept talking about the fact that we felt so encouraged seeing all these different kinds of people and different disciplines working on ocean issues. So I know we talked a lot about, if only the world knew, if only people knew how much was going on, all this good work happened. So after Peter died, David Helvarg reached out to me, and we decided to put together the Peter Benchley Ocean Awards with that same feeling about them. Many different disciplines, commending them for their excellence, some very famous names, some names you've never heard of, but the fact is we need all of those different disciplines and all of those thousands of people working to bring our oceans back to health. When Peter and I were traveling the oceans after Jaws, we met so many fascinating people, whether they were policy people or scientists or photojournalists or just citizens, and they were all working on one aspect of the ocean or another. And we talked a lot about how it's so wonderful to see them and to meet them, and it's so encouraging. And by then, of course, we were watching the destruction of the ocean as we went around. So we realized that we really needed to shine a light on these people and give them the credit that they deserve, and also that will encourage the world to keep moving in that direction. So David Helvarg reached out to me after Peter died, and we decided to create the Peter Benchley Ocean Awards in that image. And so we're really thrilled that the community, the ocean community, has accepted them and enjoys them and finds them valuable and feels that it is bringing us all together and moving the agenda along.
So what I find fascinating is that when you bring all these people together and they have all these different perspectives, but it all works. And actually what you've been doing inspired me to do this summit and bring many different people together who have very different perspectives, because from what I'm seeing with sustainability, we can no longer expect one type of person or one capability to get us through. We need all hands on deck. Yes. And we need to bring everybody together, but we need to do it in such a way that it's non-confrontational. And we need to have kind of get everybody's guard down. We need to keep ego at the door, and we need to keep agendas out, because agendas have been holding us back. So what you guys have been doing is just amazing. I mean, when I saw the list of people this year for your awards, so you had Prince Albert, right, of Monaco, and on the one side, and then on the other side you have is it Madison Stewart from Australia, the shark girl? I mean, it's just amazing, the cross section. So how do you choose these people?
Oh, it was, it was a wonderful group this year. And every year we have this immense cross section of people, some famous, some people you've never heard of, but all of them equally important when it comes to working on their issues for the ocean. So we have an excellent selection committee in order to pick the awardees. Sylvia Earle, Nancy Knowlton, Jane Lubchenco, David Helberg and I'm trying to think, Greg Stone from Conservation International, Enrique Sala from the National Geographic. So the selection committee has vast knowledge about what's going on in the world of the ocean, and also the people that are proposed. And we do, we get proposals from hundreds of different groups and individuals, and then we have our meetings and we discuss them and we make a decision. So we will be putting out a call for nominations in September or October this year for our nominees for 2016, and that will be held in California this year. We alternate between California and Washington, D.C. So that's nice. I mean, it gives people who can't normally cross the country a chance to come. And I think it's important to realize that although we do sometimes have a Secretary Kerry and a Prince Albert, we also have incredible people like, well, let me think, Cynthia Sarnow, who is called the mother of dead zones. She has been working in the Gulf for years, 30 years. And we actually gave her the award before the BP Gulf spill. So when she came to accept the award, it was a very emotional time. But she has been working in the boots on the ground by herself or with her organization, really making a difference in the Gulf for 30 years. So those people are the ones that are very, very important, I think, when you put all those efforts together. But I just want to say that Sin met Louis Sequoia, who was the director of The Cove, about the dolphin killing in Japan. And this kind of thing happens all the time with the Benchleys, where Louis said to me, Wendy, I was so glad to meet Sin, because I never get a chance living in Hollywood. I just don't get that much chance to meet grassroots activists or people from other disciplines. So that's a very important kind of cross-fertilization that happens. And also, as you pointed out, just to have an award that goes to people without any deference to connection or to one group or another, and to bring it all together under one tent, I think people are appreciating, and I'm glad for that.
We're awfully serious here. Let's go to some funny stories. You've got to have some funny stories about some things that have happened. Let's kind of rip.
Okay. I have one.
Go for it.
Well, I have a poignant. Listen. Well, there's that great story about the manta ray. Peter with a ride on the manta. No? Well, let me tell you. Okay. Peter and I, of course, had many different adventures, as anybody who's been out on the ocean has. But when we first went down to Australia, after Jaws, the movie, and ABC Sportsman called Peter and said, okay, big boy, now that you've written this book, would you like to go swim with the real thing? And how could Peter refuse? But he did say, I do want to have Stan. Oh, there goes my husband. Hi, honey. Let me start again. Okay. Peter and I, of course, had many adventures on the ocean, as anybody who's been on the ocean does. But after Jaws, came out, or just before Jaws came out, ABC Sportsman called Peter to see if he would like to go to South Australia to swim with the great whites with Rodney Fox. So Peter said, sure, I'd love to, but I'm only going to go if Stan Waterman comes with me, because I know I can trust Stan. And actually, they had only met through Jaws, so Peter did not know Stan beforehand, but he had admired him greatly in Blue Water, White Death, and he certainly knew about it. So off we went to South Australia. Peter got into the cage. We had a beautiful big white shark, and in those days, they used a half a horse for bait. Yeah, it was really grotesque. So there's a half a horse hanging there, and the shark comes up, to take a bite. And because it was Australia in the 70s, women were not as welcome on boats. So they banished me to the upper deck. Peter got into the cage. I'm watching all the action. The photographers are around. I watch as the shark comes up and goes for the horse, misses the horse, and gets the line that attaches Peter's cage to the boat in his mouth. And it gets caught in her teeth. And so she is furious. She's trapped. She starts to whip around. Peter in the cage is going upside down, back and forth, being thrown around. I, up deck, yell down to these guys, for God's sake, get the rope out of the shark's mouth. And they are so intent on their cameras that nobody does anything. So I come down from the top deck, elbow them aside, cursing at them as I go, reach over the side. When the shark comes up, again, she opens her mouth. I grab the rope, yank as hard as I can. Rope comes out of her mouth, and all is well. Peter's cage comes down. The shark swims away. They get great footage. Peter comes up from the dive and says, what happened at the beginning of that dive? And I was a heroine for the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was fun. Anyway, it was nice to be a little bit part of the action there. And then when Peter and I had our 40th wedding anniversary, he asked me what I would like to do. And I said, honestly, I really want to go swim with the great whites off Guadalupe Island. And so we did do that. And we had, it was so beautiful. We went when the females were there, the great, big, gorgeous females, and we would have 3 and 4 swimming around the cage. And you know how they come in, just like these silent torpedoes, but they're more beautiful than that. And you barely believe they're swimming. They just glide and take a look at you, and off they go. It was a fabulous experience.
So let's circle around and talk about the categories of the Benchley Awards. And the reason why I want to talk about these awards is because it's actually not just about getting an award, and a lot of awards are like that. It's about getting an award, but this has a very important purpose of bringing everybody together and getting people in the room that need to talk. And you have some pretty amazing people that are coming together, and I imagine there's some pretty interesting dynamics that happen. I know you were talking about Louise Ahoya's meeting. What did you call it?
Sarthal.
Yeah.
Sarthal. She has a difficult name, yeah.
So what other kinds of unique dynamics have happened that have produced some interesting results?
Well, that's going to be hard to answer because, of course, I don't know everything that goes on there are so many conversations happening and people connecting with others. So that was one that Louise said to me. But I know that, so it's, Gabriella Cowperthwaite, who did Blackfish. Let me see. I can say a few different things here, I think, that might make sense. First of all, I think the awards, the fact that the awards cover policy, science, media, exploration, youth, stewardship, and then we have Hero of the Seas. who are really grassroots people who have done extraordinary things for, most of them working 20, 30, 40 years. So just covering all those different disciplines so that people understand that it takes those disciplines, all of them working together, to make progress in our oceans, I think is very important. And on that same line, a lot of the people that we award are they understand how important business is and bringing in business and corporations into the policy field. So that when Secretary Kerry had his Our Ocean Conference, or when Prince Albert has a conference, or when The Economist brings people in, and we gave The Economist an award this year too, the ocean community, everybody understands that we need to involve not only governments, but corporations, leading business people, CEOs, everybody in to bring our ocean agenda up to speed for a healthy ocean. Then on another level, there are connections made between different disciplines, which are very valuable also. We talked about the connection with Louis Sequoia and Cynthia Sarth now. I know that this year there was a very fascinating connection between Prince Albert and Nainoa Thompson, who is the Hawaiian seafarer, because of his because he is so connected into the old ways of the sea and navigation. And Prince Albert, who is an explorer himself, wanted to talk to him, and I think is going to follow up with him and bring him into some of the conferences that he has about acidification, the Arctic, the Antarctic, because Prince Albert and I were talking about it. It's important that people bring this to a human face, the human element, the animal element, not just we as human beings, but the connection, the interconnectedness of all life, whether in the ocean or on land. And we're just one part of that life. So I know that Prince Albert was very moved by Nainoa Thompson, and he would never normally meet somebody like Nainoa in his position in life. So that kind of thing happens. And Secretary Kerry, although he wasn't there at the awards, when he was the first Secretary of State to throw the whole weight of being Secretary of State behind an ocean conference. This was a breakthrough. And he brought people from all over the world, from many different walks of life, many different levels of government, business. There were manufacturers there. I went to a seminar where there were the plastic manufacturers, and we had lots of very good conversations about plastics in the ocean and how could we approach this problem. So these awardees are making connections that I think are very, very valuable for them and for the world.
Wendy, what is your next step? Do you have any plans to expand the awards, or what are your thoughts about?
Well, we look at the Benchley Ocean Awards as a growth. We're always growing, finding new ways to approach it, new ways to find other nominees. We really want to reach out to more people. We might sometime have an awardee abroad. When we gave the award to Macky Sall of Senegal, he was the president of Senegal, because he canceled the licenses of the foreign fishing fleets that were coming down and just wiping out all of his fish. Now, this took not only a lot of political courage, but also just economic courage, because he was missing millions of dollars from the licenses from these fishing boats. But he did it because he realized that his people were going to starve because they were fishing out all the fish that his people needed to eat. The reason I bring it up is that he said, Wendy, I would like it if you and David would come to Senegal and give me this award, because it would help give me prestige and understanding in the country, and it would help give me political backing if you from the United States came to our country, Senegal. So that was a very poignant, important thing to hear, and I thought, gosh, I've heard that also from Laura Chinchilla, the president of Costa Rica. She was very interested in it being given back to her in Costa Rica. Now, we haven't quite developed the budget or the travel schedule to do that, but it's something that's on our minds. And of course, if we could do it, we would love to eventually be able to give some money to people. But what I've seen is that the awardees don't really care about being given an award fund or something. That they really are more interested in being together and are very pleased to be celebrated and recognized. And so I now have sort of backed off from that, thinking that just this recognition and the kind of community that we bring them into is really our best bet.
I get the sense when we talk about the awards is that these there's so many awards that it is just about pat yourself on the back, and these aren't. And the people that you award, give these awards to, they're people who have been holding space for the rest of us to get it for quite some time, or they're doing it in such a way that it's so unique. I'm thinking of Madison in Australia, what she's doing. I mean, they're doing it in such a unique way that it's having an impact. And again, as you say, people are compelled to do these things, and they're not expecting a award; they're just doing it. Right. And to be able to bring them all together, and I would think, I know when I go to these kinds of conferences and get to talk to other people, I would be completely re-inspired to go back out there and to keep going.
Yeah.
Just getting that energy, being regrouping and going, oh my gosh, I could do this and I could do that, and I think that's why these awards are so popular.
Yeah. Well, when Peter and I talked about bringing people together and saying kudos to you and bravo to you, it is with that thought in mind that people need to be nourished and supported. And then they find new energy and new ways to go back with renewed energy to their work. So that's an important aspect.
What's the craziest award you gave away? Like the craziest person? Maybe you're not allowed to say person. You don't have to. But just like what was really like out there?
I think the most out there person was Charles Moore, Captain Charles Moore, who he was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. He came in, he discovered the garbage patch, the plastic garbage patch, the great Pacific gyre of plastic, because he has a suit and a bow tie and a hat and shoes made out of plastics, leftover recycled plastics, or not even recycled, just cut up plastics. And I think his wife helped him put it together, but it is quite an outfit. So he's just wonderful because he's not afraid to step out of bounds, to get on TV, to talk it up, to be energetic. And he's out again, sailing, finding yet more, documenting yet more of the plastics in the ocean. So he was terrific. And I loved some of the children, the youth. They just give everybody this sense of, okay, the next generation is coming along and we're going to be okay. So we had Casey Sakalovich, who started baking sea turtle cookies when she was 6 years old and selling them in order to give the money to a turtle sanctuary that she had become involved with. And now she's 17 and has developed this amazing summer program where she has brought in big brothers, big sisters, all kinds of businesses and corporations. The hundreds of kids go out on rivers and pick up trash on the rivers, and then are educated about how rivers go down to the ocean, and what you do upstream makes a difference downstream. And because they're in an interior part of the country and not connected, they can't go to the beach. So she's figured out many different ways. So there are just superb young people that we find. And anybody listening to this tape, I hope that you will think of the young people you know who are involved in ocean work and send in those nominations, because that's one area where we need better outreach, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
The kids give us hope. What else gives you hope? You must get. We see the news every day coming through, and some of it's pretty intense. What gives you hope?
Gives me hope is that we've got so many thousands of people thinking about this now and acting, and that we've actually almost got 10% of the seas in marine protected areas, and we're now seeing big movement on the high seas. I mean, people are actually talking seriously about trying to have a moratorium on fishing in the high seas, which would be wonderful. And we have Prince Albert and many other people working on the Arctic, and Secretary Kerry, the Arctic and the Antarctic. And we have Pope Francis, who has just going to come out with his encyclical on the climate. And that, I think, there's no ocean without us doing something about the climate. So that, to me, is the big breakthrough right now.
Wendy, I want to thank you so much for being with us. What you're doing, how you're bringing people together in a unique way that not only celebrates them, but it helps people to get re-inspired to go back out there and do more, take action, and inspire other people to take action. You're like a little generator, and we want to thank you for doing what you're doing. It's making a big difference. We can see that.
Oh, Lori, thank you. You're making a big difference. I mean, bravo to you for putting this together, and I'm there. I'm there on board, trying to, will help in whatever way I can, anytime. And I'm really thrilled that the dive community is just coming together and working hard on being up to speed on ocean issues, because we are the ones, the dive community, the divers are the ones who are out there seeing, along with the fishermen. And we need to bring the fishermen into this more also, because that is a powerful force. The divers, the fishermen, and then all the other people that are working on other issues. So bravo to you too.
Wendy, thank you so much for being here, and we're going to stay in touch. We're going to keep people informed about your awards and all the great things you do. And I know you're involved in Blue the Dive and a few other things. And so we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing, because it seems to be making a difference, seems to be making headway. So thanks for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Lori, and onward and upward. We're together. We're all going to make this ocean healthy again.
Yay!
Yay!
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.